Ohai. Shakrasabs, the city, the administrative center of the Kashkadarya region. Uzbekistan. One of the most ancient cities of Central Asia till the 16th century, known under the name Kash. Shakrasabs, the city in the Kashkadarya region of Uzbekistan, located between inflows of the Kashkadarya River Aksuf in the north and Tankadarya in the south. The population as of January 1, 2014 is 10,03,000 inhabitants, for 1991, 53,000 inhabitants. The most part of the population is made by Uzbeks. The airport and the railway station Kitab, which in 1959 has stopped being independent unit of Shakrasabsi district and was part of the city of Shakrasabs. The name of the city of Shakrasabs comes from Persian city and Sabs, green, and is translated literally as the green city Zelenograd. This name was fixed in the country since 14th century. Before, the city was known under the sub-name Kash, with dwelling, house, settlement value. In Baburnam, 15, the beginning of 16 in, along with the Kash was used also by Shakrasabs. History. According to some information, the city is founded approximately in the 8th century BB. The city in the ancient time was called the Kash. Ancient residents, Kashits, were known for the crafts, trade and high culture. The Sud language was the most widespread. The city was one of the centers of Zoroastrianism, and later in parallel Nestorianism. Till the 14th century, the city was known as the Kash. Also, it was considered as one of the main cities of the satrapy of Sogdiana in the empire of Achaemenidov. In 329 BB, the Kash has been captured by Alexander of Macedon's troops, and it has appeared under the influence of the Hellenistic culture. In the I-2 centuries, the city was in orbit of influence of the Kashansky Empire. In the 3-4 centuries, Kanjuyu has been subordinated. Ancient Kangari Kangayites, who were created on the basis of group of Saksky tribes of Prasurdarinsky areas, and in the 3rd century BB have created the state war Turkek. In the 4-5 centuries AD, the Kash was part of the states of Hyanit and Kidarit. His governors from 3rd century BB to the 8th century AD have released large number of coins. Names of governors of ancient and early medieval Kash, Akurpat and Shishpur, are known. Also, long time the central Sogd's capital was large antique and early medieval urban center. In the 6th century it was part of the state of Iftalit. In 567-658 years the sub-governors of the city submitted to Turkic peoples. In the 6th-8th centuries the Kash was parts of Turkic and West Turkic Khaganates. In the 8th century Turkoman Sabugra was Husars. Kash. Governor Malikam. At Tanyabak again. 618-630 years. The power of Turkic peoples has amplified in Sogda. New visits of Tokaristan and Afghanistan have moved apart borders of the state to northwest India. Tanyabakagan has undertaken administrative reform and appointed the representatives, Tudin, in the area, including in Sogd, for observation and control of collecting tribute. Assume that it released the coins with text Tong to Yabkagan. Halads, which in the early Middle Ages lived in Tokaristan, modern territories of the southern Uzbekistan, Tajikistan and northern Afghanistan, were the ancient Turkic tribe. Turkic peoples of Central Asia worship the following deities: Tengri, Skay, Yume, Goddess Mother, Yersub, Zemlyevoda, and Erklik, the Lord of Hell, among whom the dominant position was held by Tengri. In the 8th century has been won by Arabs. During the Arab invasion, the valley of the Kashkadaria and especially the Kash were epicenter of the anti-Arab and anti-Islamic liberation movement led by Muqana, known in the history as Revolt of People in White Clothes. Finally, resistance has led to decline of the capital city. In 701-704 years there were battles between Turkic peoples and Arabs at Nasefa and Kasha. During board of dynasty Samanidov, city life gradually moves to the southwest from Old Kash, to the location of the large settlement of Barknan. In 1038 Stormonts Ibrahim B. Nasa, the son of the conqueror of Transoxiana, has taken Saganian from where has intruded in the central Transoxiana. In 1040 it has won the Kash. By the 10th century in the state of Karakanadav, the literary language which has carried on traditions of old Turkic written texts functioned. Official Karakanidski language of the 10th century was based on the grammatical system of ancient Kalukski dialects. Islamization Karakanadav and their Turkic citizens has played big role in cultural development of Turkic culture. At the end of the beginning of the 11th century, for the first time in the history of the Turkic people, tafsir, comments on the Quran, has been translated into Turkic language. During this era in Central Asia, the largest Turkic literary works have appeared. Fertile Knowledge, Kutajubilik, Yusuf Balasaguni, Ahmed Yesavi's Sofa, Shriftgifts, Had Battle Hakoik, Ahmed Yugnaki. The scientist of the 11th century Mahmud of Kashgaria has laid the foundation of Turkic linguistics. He lists names of many Turkic tribes of Central Asia. The historian Majid Haldain Zasukakoti, which wrote Story of Turkestan, in which dynasty history Karakanadav was stated, was one of the famous scientists. In the period of board, Karakanadav finally develops the new capital of medieval Kash. At the time of hegemony Horemshafaf, the beginning of the 13th century, the Kash Shakrasabs is for the first time protected with defensive walls. Since the 14th century the city becomes known under the name Shakrasabs. Since this period on coins of the time the present name of the city is minted. In 1336 in the village Kishlek of Hotailgar on Shakrasabs' outskirts, Amir Tamerlan, who has created afterwards one of the largest and powerful empires of the time, which stretched from East Anatolia to East India, was born. In the middle of the 14th century the city Haji Barlas, Amir Temur's uncle in the area of the father, ran. His residence was in Karshi. In general, from the second half of the 13th century of Shakrasabs and Karshi with adjacent territories in the administrative relation belonged Turkic to the tribe Barlas. In lifetime of the empire of Timuridav, Amir Temur has turned the hometown into one of the largest and developed centers. At the beginning of the 15th centuries was his residence. but as the capital has chosen Samarkand. In Shakhrasabs, Temur made the decision to make Samarkand the capital of the state. But Shakhrasabs has not lost the value, and after Samarkand became the capital, the city took on the value the second place after the state capital. Then the name Shakhrasabs gradually gains big popularity. During that era, Shakhrasabs was one of places of full-time residence of Bek, princes of the Turkic tribe Barlas, by order of Timur on its homeland in Kashgar. Shakhrasabs. The palace of Giant Stock Company shed has been built, and he dreamed to construct much Bo Shi Palace. Its construction has begun in 1380, that is right after strengthening of the power of the autocrat in Transoxiana. Construction jobs were continued 24 years, almost to the death of Sakibkaran. The palace included several yards around which there were premises and rooms of public assignment. Rooms have been decorated with gold azure, facades of constructions are covered with collar tiles, the yards are paved by white plates. The pool arranged on roof from which the picturesque cascade of streams flew down was one of miracles of the palace. Water came to the pool on lead trench from mountain past Aktakarak. The arch of the entrance portal of Giant Stock Company shed, which has failed about 300 years ago, was the largest in Central Asia. So far from this majestic construction, only two separated pylons have remained. The palace occupied the big space. Only one main aula made 120-125 m in width and 240-250 m in length. Calculation of proportions of the remained elements of the building shows that height of the main portal reached 70 meters. In the city, some representatives of dynasty Timuridov have been buried. The father Timur, Muhammad Taragay, two eldest sons Timur, Jahangir and Umar the Sheikh. Every time when Amir Temur went to distant campaign or at return, he spent some time in Shakhrasabs. Nomadic Uzbek soldiers were on service of Timur. For example, sources report about Uzbek soldiers in 1366 in Karshi and also among the Bek. Waktaj the Uzbek, which were on service of Timur. As a part of Timur's troops in the Indian campaign in 1399, there were 400 houses of Uzbeks. In the last quarter of the 14th century, the city has reached the large scale of the development. But after Amir Temur and Ulugbek's times, it has lost the former glory, and it has appeared out of attention of the central authorities. At the 16th beginning of the 20th centuries of Shakhrasabs, Sharsabaiza was part of the Bukhara Khanate and was the administrative center of the Shakhrasabsi Bekstvo Principality. In particular in 1556. According to other data, by 1574, the city has been occupied by the Uzbek Khan Abdullah Khan II from dynasty Shaybanadav and included in structure of the neogenic Karshi Wilayat province. By the 16th century, of Shakhrasabs has been surrounded with powerful city defensive walls. In the middle of the 18th century, the Uzbek Sword of Kanagas has based here semi-independent possession which kept the relative autonomy up to the Russian gain in 1870. Since 1860, Durabek together with Bababek independently governed in Kitab and Shakhrasabs. At the initial stage of military campaign of Kaufman against the Bukhara Emir, Shakhrasabs also stood aside. However, after capture of Samarkand and the subsequent movement of the Russian troops to Katakogan, Durabek and Bababek, having collected significant forces, on May 2, 1868 unsuccessfully attacked the Samarkand citadel protected by small Russian garrison. The further hostile attitude of Durabek towards Russia preventing peaceful organization of the Zarafshansky Valley won by Russians have accelerated outcome. In the summer of 1870 under Kitab's walls the Russian troops under command of the General Abramov appeared. Military operations were short but are very persistent. On August 14, 1870 Kitab has been stormed, and Beck with the Ord group ran at first in Magian, and then have been forced to go to the Kokand Khanate. However, the Kokand Khan has seized them and has given out to the Russian government. Shakhrasabz has been transferred by the Russian Empire to the Emir Muzaffar. Ashtar Khanate of the Uzbek dynasty of Mangit, which members ruled Bukhara till 1920, has replaced. The Bukhara Emirate along with the Kievan Khanate and the Kokand Khanate was one of 3 Uzbek Khanates in Central Asia. The Emir Nasrullah, 1827-1860, conducted rigid fight against centrifugal forces in the person of heads of childbirth and tribes. In the 1830th years military reform has been undertaken. In legal documents of Nasrullah the text was located on Uzbek. Muzaffar has put on Va al-Mansur Emir Nasrullah Bakadur the Sultan Suzumis. A word of the powerful and victorious Emir Nasrullah. In 1856 the Emir Nasrullah has subordinated himself Shakhrasabz. During era of Mangit there is blossoming of the Uzbek epos in the person of performers later. Islam Sher, Ergish Duman Bulbul Oglu, Pulkana, Tilakampura, etc. Between 1860 and 1870 of Shakhrasabz has gained independence again. In 1870 the Uzbek Emir Muzaffar has annexed Shakhrasabz to Bukhara again. From 1870 to 1920 Shakhrasabz was one of the main cities of the Bukhara Emirate. After its falling the city at first was part of the Bukharanines and then, till October 1924, was as a part of the Bukhara Sur. On May 31, 1958 the urban-type settlement of Shakhrasabz has received the status of the city. In 1959 the Kitab station, which is earlier relating to Shakhrasabzi district, was part of the city of Shakhrasabz. Geography. The city of Shakhrasabz is in northeast part of the Kashkadaria region. Vilayat. Distance to the Vilyatsky center, Karshi, which is to the west of Shakhrasabz -90 km. In 65 km to the north from Shakhrasabz there is city of Samarkand. Distance to border with Tajikistan more than 80 km. To Tashkent. In the northeast. More than 360 km to Bukhara. In the northwest. More than 240 km. Shakhrasabz is in the valley of the same name. From the north, the south and the east it is surrounded by the Zarafshansky Ridge, part of the mountain system Basarale. From the west the Shakhrasabzi Valley, sometimes is called Oasis, which adjoins the Kashkadaria Oasis, where the main cities of the Kashkadaria Wilayat are located. Shakhrasabz from the northeast is adjoined by the satellite town, Kitab, who is the administrative center of Kitabsky district. Ford. As of 2018, Shakrizab's population makes more than Kard people. Nearly a half of all population of Shakrizabsi district, Ford, lives in the city. The large settlement, the settlement October, 18,000 inhabitants, 1994, is subordinated to the city of Shakrizabs. It is located in the Shakrizabsi oasis, on the Uzbek path. Finals. The station, Kitap, of branch 122 came from Karshi. In the settlement, the cotton processing, winemaking, fruit and canning plants are located. Uzbeks, Tajiks make the main part of the population. Also in the city there are diasporas of the Central Asian Arabs, small amount of Tatars, Russian and some other people. In the religious plan the majority is made by Sunni Muslims. Also in Shakrizabs there are representatives of Christianity. The city economy is concentrated in the field of processing of agricultural raw materials, Lopkachiska, conservation, etc. National and domestic industries are developed. To the north from the small Kishlak of Kamertepe of Kitabsky district of the Kashkadarya region, on the left coast of the small river Shurupsay originating from Zarafshansky mountains from the north on the south three tepe of different configuration who together make three parts of the ancient capital city of Nataka. Padiotic Tepe, Uzunker and Sanjar Tepe alternate. In the mid-80s of the 20th century the archaeological sites of the Shurupsayski microoasis dispersed within 5 km from each other have been for the first time inspected by the employee Cape Keshsky Archaeologo-Topographical Expedition N. 1. Krashnanikova. Then these 3 hills are defined as citadels, actually the city in Notaki's temple. Padiotic Tepe, citadel of the city of 27074 m. It is located in northern part on the high steep coast Shurupsaya. As a result of archaeological works on the ancient settlement 4 construction horizons are traced. The most ancient occupation layers of the ancient settlement are dated the 9-8 centuries BB. In one of excavations in the western part of Padiotic Tepe the site of bypass fortification of the Achaemenidski and Hellenistic periods is traced. These walls show that the city of Notaka had, as well as the ancient settlement of Frajib in Samarkand, the aristocratic part enclosed with separate wall Acropolis. With the termination of government of Alexander of Macedon the city is abandoned, only Padiotic Tepe's Acropolis continues to grow roots. The new city arises on the Hyrite riverbank Aksa, on site ancient settlements Kalendar Tepe, within the modern city of Kitap. Uzunka, the city fortification remains. At present near the Kishlak of Kamertepe it is traced in the form of low shaft more than 650 m long and 20 m wide. In due time the wall surrounded the territory of all city more than 70 hectares. The initial wall of the ancient settlement has been built from Volkobrasny adobe bricks of the 10-9 centuries BB characteristic of such ancient cities of Sogda as Koktepe and Afrasiab. Later, at the time of domination of Achaemenidski, Selevkidski and Greek Bactrian kingdoms, on fortifications of the city large-scale repair works were carried up. Sandratepe, the separate hill which is located behind line of city walls at distance of 650 m to the southwest from Uzunka. Consists of the central hill of 8462 m and about 8 meters high. The bypass wall has captured the area within 3 hectares. Since 1983, on the ancient settlement archaeological works as the staff of Department of Archaeology of the Tashkent State University are conducted. Nowadays, the National University of Uzbekistan is a result of archaeological excavations on Sanjatep. The unique temple of Zoroastrians with the hall in the middle, with altar and auxiliary rooms, has been opened. The temple is one of the most ancient cult constructions of Central Asia. Sites. In 2000, the historic center of the city and its archaeological, architectural, religious and cultural sites have been included in the UNESCO World Cultural Heritage List under the name, Historic Center of the City of Chakrasubs. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.